So welcome to day 2 of watercolor techniques. So as a review, last class we learned the two most basic techniques, wet on dry and wet on wet. And then from there, we learned how to layer, how to blend, how to add paint on top of wet paint, and how to do lettering. Today we're going to take not only the mixing of our colors, but also our techniques up a notch. So for box number 7, we're going to do a couple different things. You are going to need part of your paper towel or napkins to do this box, and I'm just going to rip a piece enough that I can ball up. Then you are going to need to custom mix your own color. I think I want to do this in kind of a teal. So to create teal, I'm going to need blue and green. What I don't want to do is mix directly into the colors. Instead, I want to use a spot on the top to mix my colors. I'm going to take a little bit of my green and I can scoop that right out. Now, if you need to, you can go ahead and clean your top with just a wet napkin. Will bring most of it up. And look at over here how I'm mixing my colors. And I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit of that blue until I get the color teal that I want. Ooh, let's do a little bit more. There we go. So now that I have the color I want, it's still kind of thick, so I'm going to go ahead and add some water to it again, so it's nice and sheer like watercolor. And once I have enough of that, notice I have a good bit of that paint, I can move on to box number 7, because remember, you're going to need your napkin and your paint. So box number 7, weirdly, is called tissue. Now, it does work really well with tissues, but paper towels work the same way. If you need more paper towel, you can always rip off more paper towel. It's up to you. And we're going to go ahead and scrunch it. Now, I'm going to hold that in this hand while I do my paint with my other hand. You can always wait if you want to. So I'm going to take my paint, and I'm going to use that to really fill box number 7. So you can see that my paint's not crazy thick, but it's nice and almost solid. Again, I'm going to keep pushing through. Looks like there's already something on my paper resisting. And I'm going to go back and really make sure that I have enough of this on my box. Once I have enough of this on my box, I'm going to take my tissues that have some texture, and I'm going to push that right into my box. And I'm going to hold that down. Now, I'm not holding with all my might. I'm just lightly holding as it touches the paper. And once I feel like it's been there enough, which I usually count to about 10, I can lift it up, and look how it leaves a mark. So it almost takes away a little bit, and it left a little blue there. I'm going to go ahead and scrunch up again and maybe get this corner down here since it's still wet. And I'll hold it on. Now, if you're doing yours and you're seeing that maybe it just took off a whole white blob, that's probably because you pressed down so hard you didn't let any of these little creases show in your actual box. Now I'm going a little crazy because this is my favorite technique. And I can go ahead and do the top. Look at how we can create almost a tie-dye or a texture effect by using that tissue. And then when you're done with it, you can just set it to the side. So that completes box number 7. Box number 8 is going to be a little bit more fun. You can use a crayon, but today we are going to be using the white color pencil from your color pack. And I know it feels like we never use this, but we're going to use that today. So we are going to write down, we can write down white pencil or white C pencil. You can do this again, like I said, with crayons. Not everybody has crayons, but because of the wax in our color pencil, and we're going to have to press really hard with it, the watercolor is going to do something cool. So I'm going to take my color pencil and I'm going to draw something, which you might be able to see because of the outline, onto my actual artwork. I'm pressing hard. I can actually see it on my paper when I'm doing it. It's something I love. You guys will probably know what it is right away. And once I have all my details, I can take my watercolor and I can paint on top. Now remember, today we're taking it up a notch. So we are not just using colors that are already mixed for us. So I'm going to make a orangey yellow. So I'll pick this little spot over here and I'll scoop a little bit of my yellow, a teeny bit of my orange so it doesn't overpower. There we go. Add a little bit more yellow, so that I have my custom color, because watercolor is the same as any other art supply. You can get as fancy or non-fancy as you would like. Ooh, I need more yellow. There we go. And once you have your color, again, you want to add water for this effect to happen. So no thick paint. And you can take it and you can lightly paint over top. And if you lightly paint over top, ooh, we can see some of it happening a little bit, but not a lot. You can see that resist. So my drawing actually coming through, the watercolor rolling off of my color pencil. Oh, it's not happening too much, which is kind of a bummer. There we go. Some of it's pulling off. So it was a pineapple. We can see it's not as effective as we would want. Ooh, let's see. There, the darker color, you can see it a little bit more, but not as much. We'll let it go and see if it comes out. Now with this last one, this last technique is going to be a little messy, but that's sometimes what we do. So you can take another piece of paper or even your napkin and you can block off around your last box. So I'm going to remove my water and I'm going to take this whole napkin on the top. It's wet, but I can still use it. Set my water and my brushes back down. And I'm going to rip this up so that I can cover up this box. Oof, this box. And if you are like me and you're quite particular, you can use your paper to cover up all the way around it so that you're not making a mess. But before I cover up that bottoms part, I'm going to go ahead and write what we're doing, and we are going to splatter our paint. Now, please make sure that you don't have anything expensive around you. Yes, it does come out, but no, we don't want to scare any moms, dads, brothers, or sisters if we have their stuff around. Now, I'm going to make my last custom color for today, which I'm going to do some red and some purple, and I'm going to make like a magenta color. And what I'm going to do again is water that down. The bigger your brush, the bigger your splatter. So you get to choose, and you're going to be dyeing your finger. So if you don't like to dye your finger, grab some gloves, put a napkin over your finger. I'm a messy Bessie, so I'm not worried about it. So I'm going to put my thumb on the brush, and I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to pull back, and I'm going to slowly let go. And look at how, depending on how you do it, it starts to really fill in with those splatters. Now I can also pick up another color. I'll rinse my brush first, wipe off my finger. Maybe I'll pick up some red too. And I can go in and I can splatter my colors. Now you can see, you can actually get really fine details when it comes with the splatter. And that also makes a fun texture. And with that being said, we're done with our last 3 boxes, and we can go into our very last big box. So we've done our tissue, our white crayon, which didn't work as much. Our white color pencil, which didn't work as much, and our fun splatters. For box number 10, I want to give you guys a chance to try out what you're thinking for your background. So since I'm doing squirrels, I am going to be doing oranges for my background. So I am going to pick an orange color pencil. I could even do yellow if I wanted to go nice and light so that I don't see it. I could do beige. I could even do white. So whatever I'd like to do color pencil wise, but we want to make sure it's nice and light. And I'm going to start by going in and sketching what I want to draw. Now, a nice little reminder for everybody, when we start working on our final for this class, which we're going to start drawing on that literally next class, you want to always start drawing in color pencil. And when we do watercolor, there's a purpose to that because we want to make sure that we don't see our lines. If we use pencil, you can see up here, the watercolor doesn't cover it because it's so sheer. But doing color pencil, especially if it's the color that we're about to use, allows us to blend in with the paint we're going to use, making a smoother, more beautiful piece of artwork. All right, so now that I have mine kind of mapped out very lightly, we're going to play around with adding our light colors onto this. So if I know my oranges are orange, I can custom make my own color, which sneaky me, I did. And I'm going to add a lot of water to it because we want to have nice light layers. And then I can go in and I can start plotting out where I want that to go. Now I am using the wet on dry technique, and the reason I'm doing that is because I want control of my paintbrush and my paint, because all I'm doing right now is color blocking where I'm going to want these colors to go. Now, I'm not adding any details today, just getting comfortable with actually color blocking and thinking of what we might use for our background. So when you guys did your thumbnails on Friday, we focused on food, environment, and a body detail. Now, I'm going with the food because it's the most fun to me. You get to choose what you are going to focus on. Now, if you notice for my orange slices, I only did the orange, the juicy inside part. I didn't do the actual rind yet. And that's because that's probably going to be a little bit darker of a color. I don't want it this big. So I'm going to go back in, fill in and blend some of these. Then I can make my orange a little darker. Again, still keeping it nice and sheer. And I can go in and start adding that rind. Now, if my orange is still wet on what I've already painted, there's a chance that my colors can blend. So if you want to make sure you have nice, crisp sections, you want to make sure that everything around it has already dried. That's why I did that one first, because this one over here is still a little wet, and you can see it's starting to blend. So I'm going to curve that down. Bring that back up. If I know that these are my full oranges over here and one side's going to be darker, I can start going in and adding a little value. But I don't want to get too much done today. All I want to do is kind of block out those colors. And now I have seeds in the background. So I want to pick out a background color that is going to enhance my actual fruit or my subject. It could be your body detail. It could be an actual, just a texture that you are trying to replicate. You get to choose. I think I'm going to try to do a magenta color. Let's see what this ends up looking like. Ooh, I think that's too hard. So I think I'm going to go with my teal color. Plus, it's a complementary, so it'll look nice. So I can take my teal color that I've already made. I'm going to really water that down because I want a nice sheer color to start. And I can start going in and filling in that background, leaving just those seeds behind. Notice I'm taking my time. I'm only using one brush. You can try any brush you would like. I already know what brush is comfortable for me. I do really like the flat and the pointed. Each one has a great use. Now, again, this is just our technique sheet. I am not looking for perfection. I went out of the lines a little bit. That's okay. But I do want to see that you guys are trying. So clean lines, solid areas. Remember, if you get a jagged line, go back in and add a little water and smooth it out like we did in box 5. Now, if you'd like to try one of your techniques, you can. Like for my background, I might want to do that tissue. That's okay. But remember, our goal for today in this last box is to draw an item that we might be using for our background. If you know which one, even better, because this will be a nice little tester. To draw it out in color pencil and then to fill it in with nice light layers. So as you guys see, even though my teal is darker, oh no, and it's blending with my orange rind a little bit. See, that's what happens when we're impatient and we don't wait for it to dry, or we use way too much paint. I'm getting these nice light layers, nice light colors so that we can layer more with detail next class as we actually start to work on our backgrounds. We're always going to use this as a way to practice before we get started. Again, because it's our technique, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for effort, especially because this might be your first time ever using watercolor. Well, technically second time since it's our second day. All right, so now that I have all of my oranges, my seeds are left white because we do not have white watercolor. So anything you want to leave white, you're going to have to stay white. And I painted my background. So again, all we did with today was learn how to manipulate with a tissue, a white colored pencil, and splatter our paint. Then we decided to practice our background by sketching it in a colored pencil and then filling in our nice light solid background colors. So thank you guys for doing your technical watercolor sheet. You will be taking a picture and turning it in today, but we will use this again next class to continue practicing that background. Thank you guys. Can't wait to see what you create.